Stop the cheating, stop the lying. Wake up, everybody. It's the
What?
Tampa Bay Breakfast Club. I'm your brother John.
And this is Kiana.
Hey, and this program is being brought to you as part of the New Image Project of the Community Development and Training Center, aka See That.
See that?
Hey, and we would like to help thank y'all for tuning in and helping us to redefine what's good. Q on the phone this morning. What's going on, Q?
You know what? Listen, it's Friday, right?
Yep.
I was doing a little research
Okay.
to the, so I think a couple of days ago, or like maybe last week, we was talking about the ratio men versus women, right?
Okay.
I
Yep.
think it was like there was like 10 men to every woman.
Yeah, you jumping
That's
right in.
kind
That's
of
what
what
that's what it was.
right.
That's what it was.
So
Yeah.
like that, actually, that's pretty false. It's pretty close.
Okay. So the ratio of men to women for those
Is
who
like,
for those who
yeah,
missed
go
it.
ahead.
So for those who missed it on last week or when we did our Freestyle Friday, we do what's on your mind. You can call in, and we're talking about a conversation about cheating. I guess would be the common term, but how why men oftentimes have multiple options with women. And a caller called in and said that it was because there are more women than there are men, and he said almost like 1 to 10. And so Kiana did some research, and the research shows.
That actually is like 2 men more than women,
So
and
wait, is
only
is more
because
men? Is more men?
yes, it is actually more men than women, and this is because of in China and another country they have more men than there are women, even though in the world population there is more women in some regions, but altogether there are more men than women. Now
Okay.
after 50, there's more women than men.
Okay. How about the do they have it for like the United States?
I can pull it once I get
Okay.
my computer working. I can pull it up,
Okay.
but I just wanted to say, like we always say that,
Yeah, that is more women than men,
right?
and
And that's
globally.
not true.
Okay, globally.
It's not.
But I mean, I think if you double click, right, because again, you have different demographics, and so is it saying more men broadly, or is it more black men and black women, right? Like if you start getting into the specific
So I didn't break
population.
it down into the race, but I
Okay,
can.
okay, yeah, just given you know how data works, right?
Yeah, yeah.
you
And so
squeeze
this
the
data
numbers, they'll
was,
tell you what they want
yeah,
you to
yeah,
say. Yeah.
yeah. It is true. So I looked at a couple of different researchers, and this is from the one in last year, 2021.
Okay.
So it's pretty recent.
So
So
that
that means that really nobody really got to cheat.
okay, if your reason for cheating is that there's not enough options, uh, yeah, then you really don't have to do that. That's the
Nah, that's
okay.
basically what I was saying.
That's the takeaway, right?
That is the takeaway from this one.
Okay, okay, no, that's what's up. That's what's up. So thank you for that. And Agent X2 last night, the premiere, the
Ah,
screening, yeah. The screening was last night of Agent X2, and it was
mhm.
nothing short of amazing, man. The community really came out and showed a lot of support, a lot of love, man. And so shout out to Dream Makers Productions, Mr. Edmund, Cranston Cumberbatch, and everybody involved with that project. Mama Blue had an amazing role in there. Yeah, no, it was good. Yubi says you're correct on China because they had a one child policy for a while. Okay, so you getting some backup here. So you be said you're correct. And then let me see here. Another person says you're correct. Also, it's not showing their name on this software, but thank you for backing our sister. They say we be jumping on you too, Kiana. So let's talk about that. They say we be ganging up on you. What say you? Do we gang up on you?
Well, let me say this. You and I don't gang up on each other, but when it's 3 men in the room
Okay.
and one woman, it typically feels
Ah.
like I could be, jumped on a little bit, but I handle my own, and I know it's all love.
No, that's right. That's
But
right.
I think the other two guys be excited, and everybody wants to tell their points of view.
Yep.
So then it seems like, oh, we cutting her off and all that other stuff. I think that's really what it is.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah, but it's not a gang up. It's all love. And for
Oh
those who
no, it
don't
is
know,
all love. But
absolutely.
people do say that. People do, like, even my physical therapist, like, wait, hold on, the guys be, but you did good, you did good, So.
Yeah, you hold your own. Huh? That's what's up. That's what's up. So let's
hmm
talk about this day in history. Uh,
Okay, let's talk about it.
this day in history, September 2nd, is the 245th day of the Gregorian calendar year. On
hmm
this day, Great Britain adopted the Gregorian calendar. The first Eagle Scout award is given to Boy Scouts of America, and the National Museum of Brazil was 90% destroyed by fire. Today is also Bring Your Manners to Work Day. so,
You
so
need a day to bring your manners to work,
we actually need a
but go
whole
ahead.
day. Yeah. Good morning, Miss Teresa. Thank you for tuning in. Yeah, we need a whole day for that. So it says Bring Your Manners to Work Day is celebrated on the first Friday in September. This year it will be celebrated on September 2nd. With 9 to 5 routines, we probably spend more time with our family than with our real family, our work family, it says here, than with our real family. And much like at home, good manners need to be followed at the workplace. This includes having not having messy workstations, conversing politely, and not using your cell phone when you're in the company of others. What you think about that? National Bring Your Manners to Work Day.
I think they just make up anything.
This is true. If you want a
um,
holiday, just holler at the people who make holidays, and they'll give you one.
they'll give you one. Um, but I mean, shouldn't you have your manners at work anyway, every day?
Yeah, I think good manners is like a staple of
I mean,
just being a good person.
we do go to places where you don't get the best service at times.
Right.
But do you really need a holiday like today? Is the day that you have to be good.
Yeah, bring your manners to work with you.
When
Don't.
you somebody come to McDonald's, you need to be nice. Don't give them no attitude today.
That's right.
So, like, what's the consequences if they don't have their manners today? None.
People just shake their finger at you, like they just look at you and point and shake their finger.
So, really, what we're saying, this is just a regular smuggler day.
No, I guess it's just being mindful that
Yeah.
manners should be present, and they should be present every day. Yeah, no, that's a real thing though. Bring your manners to work day. And I think it started in
Okay.
like 2013. Also on
Oh,
also on this day, the September 2nd, 1969, America's first ATM machine made its public debut. So I didn't realize ATMs were that old, but started in 1969.
wow. What would we do with our ATM machines now?
Oh man, whatever we did before them, I guess. let me, let
We
me-
don't know.
we don't know. Yeah, because it's like it's always been around in our lifetime. So it says here that the first automated teller machine made its public debut, dispensing cash to customers at Chemical Bank in Rockville Center, New York. ATMs went on to revolutionize the banking industry, eliminating the need to visit a bank to conduct basic financial transactions. By the 1980s, these money machines had become widely popular and handled many of the functions previously performed by human tellers, such as check deposits and money transfers between accounts. Today, ATMs are as indispensable to most people as cell phones and email. And that's interesting.
I agree.
You can't live without an ATM.
Well, I can. Well, yeah, no, I really can't live without it. But
But
I can live without my phone. I just don't want to.
yeah, that's right. Yeah, it would be really difficult to do so. Yeah.
You know, but it's made it so easy these days to transfer money without the ATM machine. I think it was more irrelevant, like maybe like 5 years ago.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
because you technically don't have to have cash on you ever.
Right.
Everybody has some type of form of, digital banking,
Right.
Cash App.
Right.
You could do Zelle. They have so many different options where you can send money without have to physically touching your money
Yep.
at this point. So I'm wondering if ATM machines will go away soon.
That's a good question. Yeah, because I mean that does happen. Like because of here's what I've seen. They call them at my bank they call them ITMs. So they're interactive teller machines now. So when you pick up the phone, it's actually like a screen with a person behind it.
Mhm.
So you still have the teller experience, but the teller is like behind the screen. And that's how they're doing a lot of these transactions now. Where they do if you want to talk to a person or have a human interaction, they still have that available.
Yeah, they have these new banks where there's no bank teller, but
Right,
there's bankers in there, and all it is ATM machines, and the banker can handle like major transactions or things to do with the account. But as far as like withdrawing and putting money in, you
right,
do it strictly at the ATM machine.
right. Teller in the box.
Hmm.
That's right. You got tellers in the box right now. But yeah, no, it really is, and that's a great point. I wonder if at some point the ATM will become obsolete. I don't know though, because people still need cash, right? So for certain
So it probably
transactions.
won't. And then businesses still need to drop off their money.
Hmm. But they don't
So
do it. They
probably
don't drop
not.
them off at ATM though.
Oh, they drop it off in the Dropbox,
Oh yeah, that's
and
right.
then don't
That's
they
right.
after hours?
Yeah, that's right. That's absolutely right. I forgot about that. It's been a while since I had that kind of arrangement, but I remember that. Yeah, yeah. No, you're right about that. So yeah, I think it'll still be around. And
Okay, yeah.
they said today there are well over 1 million ATMs around the world, with a new one added approximately every 5 minutes. And it's estimated that more than 170 million Americans over the age of 18 had an ATM card in 2005 and used it 6 to 8 times per month. Not surprisingly, ATM get their busiest workouts on Fridays, which is today. So,
It's
yeah,
payday.
it's,
People want their money.
for real, putting it in, taking it out. Them direct deposits hit, and they go get it. Right.
Yeah.
That's what time it is. All right, cool. So you're listening to the Tampa Bay Breakfast Club, the new 99 Jams morning show, and it's Freestyle Friday. We're gonna be opening up the line. We got a good question too that we're gonna ask Kiana, and then we want to get your thoughts. So you can put your thoughts in the chat since Kiana's gonna be on the line this morning. Another thing before we transition, World War II ended on September 2nd, 1945. And this article that I was reading was actually talking about the African American soldiers and how black soldiers participated heavily in one of the largest wars of the 20th century. It was actually this war, they say, that transformed the U.S. military into a force heavily made up of African Americans. There were only a few thousand African Americans serving in the military prior to World War II, and over 1 million would be serving at the conclusion of the war. And despite racism and segregation at home, African Americans were willing to sacrifice their very being for this nation. And the war ended in September 2nd, 1945. And when they came back, it says that President Harry Truman issued an executive order basically ending uh let me see here. I won't say ending. He issued an executive order to end racial discrimination in the United States Armed Forces. It didn't end it, but the executive order was supposed to do that. And then segregation in the military eventually evolved from that order. So they had to get a little sporty with how they kept, blacks and whites separate because that's what was happening at the time. And then A. Philip Randolph in 1947 actually started pressuring the military leaders to do something about the discrimination in military service. So,
It still sounds like a bad relationship.
yeah, it is.
I'm only good enough when you need me.
Right. Oh, that whole thing. That whole thing. Adrian Taylor, good morning. Thank you for chiming in. I'm glad to see you. It was good to see you last night too. I saw Adrian Taylor last night at the premiere. So I saw a lot of
The
people.
premiere.
Yeah, yeah, the screening. I saw a lot of people last night. It was pretty cool. But yeah, I agree. It does sound like a bad relationship. Um,
A very bad relationship. Like, again,
mm,
you didn't see the benefit of me until you needed me.
yeah, that's kind of always been the case. That this American toxicity with black people, this toxic relationship that black people in America have with you know what they call the majority. But yeah, it's
The
interesting.
colonizers.
The colonizers, right? That the colonizers separate and fighting for a country that doesn't respect and appreciate you. You know what I'm saying? That's absolutely right. That's absolutely right. And that was, kind of part of Muhammad Ali's story was, after he went over there and won that gold medal and came back and he thinking, now that he's a gold medal winner, that's going to give him, certain rights or whatever. And he said he went to a restaurant and they told him he couldn't eat at their restaurant. He couldn't be served. And so he saw that, that gold medal, like you can go over there and represent the country, but when you come back to the country, they got another thing for you. And it was like a really eye opening for him and his experience.
Mm, yes, but
Yeah, that's really right. Okay, that sounded interesting. So,
I mean, I'm gonna agree with him.
yeah,
Look,
it's really real. It's really real, y'all. So again, you're listening to the Tampa Bay Breakfast Club, the new 99 Jams morning show right here on 99 Jams. I think you got to choose one, Kiana.
I'm gonna see. I'm gonna hang up and see if I can get on here where
Okay.
we can let the.
Okay, hold on.
All right, let's see here. Hold on, let me move some of the stuff around a little bit. We got a lot going on the screen, y'all. We appreciate y'all. We're gonna work through this thing. Just a
Yeah,
moment.
now people can
I tell you what, y'all. Let's do this. We're gonna take a real quick break. We're gonna take about 2 minutes. We're gonna come back with more of the Tampa Bay Breakfast Club right here on 99.1 FM 99.
okay, hold on. Can you hear me? I can't hear you. I'm reading your lips. I heard you before. I don't know what you did. Okay. I can hear. Okay. No, I did not. Tell me about it. Okay. It's the world. Look, at this point, does anything surprise you? The crazy part is you're looking at it like we talk about on like the radio and everything how like we need to start our own party, right? Trump is doing it. You can look at it like look at the Republicans and all that other stuff. You see like now they be like Trump Republican. Right. Yes. So nothing surprises me, basically. hmm Make America great again.
There we go. Yep. Yep. Yep.
Oh, now see, you were back onto the computer. No, I'm just saying, you whatever you just did, I heard you from the computer. Oh, okay. This is what happened on live radio, but this is how much we are committed.
We are. Try it now, y'all. Is that your computer? Maybe you turn your computer off. Turn the volume on your computer off.
I'm
And,
gonna
and
hang up for just a second.
no, because we won't be able to hear you then. As long as you got the phone, you just got to turn the volume off of turn the volume down on your computer, and we can still use the phone for your microphone. Look like that's the way that thing gonna work.
That's the way it works.
That's the way it's working. I can hear you good. You can hear me good. Can y'all
I
hear
can
us?
hear you good.
All right, cool. So yeah, we troubleshooting live, but yeah, they said that it was Sergeant Amanda Sanini. Um, she's a public information officer for the Pinellas County Sheriff,
Mhm.
and she said that the group was not yelling or utilizing microphones, and they didn't hang the flag or the banners to the fence. They responded to the scene after the people left the overpass, and they entered a large parking lot nearby. There was no reports of criminal activity, and no violations were observed, so no one was taken into custody, according to the sheriff's deputy.
Mhm.
I guess
So
because
how
they.
do you feel? So okay, I believe in freedom of speech, right?
Mhm. Yeah.
So like, what's good for the geese is good for the game. So like, they have a message they want to say it. It's up, so nobody should bother them as well. This
I
is a
get-
question. I'm
that is a
throwing it
good
out there.
question. That is a good question. Like if you know, you got the right to say what you want to say, even if I don't agree with it. right?
Right.
That's kind of how that goes, right? Like we don't have to agree in order for you to say what's on your mind, you know?
Right, because like they don't like when we're marching peacefully and all this other stuff. So like we still fight for their rights to be able to do the same thing because we
Hmm.
don't want to be bothered. I'm just asking. This is
I guess it
let's
depends on what they're saying. When you say freedom of speech, like it's like you can't say, go shoot and kill, everybody who ain't us. Like
no, you can't say that.
like you ain't free to just say that. You know what I'm saying? So I guess it's you know it's a thin line between what you call hate speech and what really is hate speech,
Right.
because a lot of times black love speech is interpreted as being hate speech. You know what I'm saying? Like they make the fact that we're telling people to love themselves and pointing out the injustices of this society, that in some cases has been referred to as hate speech.
But I don't see that as hate speech, and maybe because
I'm black, right?
Yeah, yeah,
But we're not saying to hurt anybody else. We're just saying love us first.
right.
So
Makes
that
yeah,
yeah. So what y'all think over there in Facebook world?
yeah. It is. Do Nazis have the right to get up there and say whatever they want to say? Like, are they protected by free speech? Yeah, they've had that right
And
since
as long as it's
that's
not
what one of the comments that said they had that right since inception.
yeah.
Yeah, they've always had that right. Like it was us who didn't have that right, huh?
And it's us who's still fighting for the right.
Yeah, and even like fight the right to be able to teach, you know, what you want to teach and really remind people of the history of what happened in this country is another one of the fights when we talk about freedom of speech. So I guess it's you're free to speak as long as you speak in what the status quo or the system wants you to
As
say.
right, as long as you stand to the script. Don't veer off the strip.
Right.
Don't
Yep. Yep.
I wrote this and this is how I want it to be said and done.
Right, right. Yeah, and this is what they're saying. They said Saturday's demonstration is the latest in a string of incidents promoting white supremacy in the region, which is Tampa Bay area. A group of anti-Semitic protesters waved Nazi flags at the Tampa Convention Center during a July 22nd Turning Point USA Student Action Summit. Also
Mhm.
on August 5th, several St. Petersburg residents received hate flyers promoting replacement theory and white nationalist ideology. You know what replacement theory is, right?
Tell me.
So replacement theory is this idea that because white people are not having babies at the same rate as other minorities, that
Mhm.
that eventually their population will be replaced and they'll no longer be the majority. And
Right.
so they're fighting basically like it's really what Frances Cress Welsing referred to as fear of genetic annihilation a while back in her book
Uh-huh.
called it's the ISIS Papers, and so she called it the fear of genetic annihilation. But this they basically turn that into what they're calling replacement theory, and
Okay.
like
I've never
what
heard it called replacement theory. So yes, I do know what it is. But yes, the
mm,
fear of that will bring out the worst in people.
yeah,
The pure bloodline is being tainted.
yep. Wow. Yeah, that's what they saying. That's what they say. That's they mindset, right? And I think that was a part of the motivation behind the Buffalo shooter.
Mhm.
Um, was he posted his whole manifesto where he was talking about replacement theory, and that was like part of what motivated him to become active and get involved with these social issues and things that were going on, was because of his concerns about being replaced.
Well, I'm gonna say if you feel like you're being replaced, then find you somebody of your race and have a whole bunch of babies.
Right. Yeah.
How simple
You think
is
so?
that?
It sounds simple, but
It
sometimes
did.
This election.
It did.
But maybe that's why they're pushing back on these abortion laws. If you think about it that way,
I do
maybe
think it I
yeah.
do think that the abortion laws are more for them than us because when you look at it, they have the money, they have the resources, they can go ahead and get these abortions regardless of where they're at. The
Okay.
abortion now you're
You're
looking at
looking at
because
because
if they're becoming the minority instead of the majority, how would you change that? Stop their women from having abortions.
Yeah, you gotta increase the population. So they probably
Mm,
ran out and saw how many women had abortions and looking at what those numbers would do to the population. Because I saw something like that in another place where they were talking about the number of black people who had been aborted and black children and black babies that had aborted, and it
mhm,
was like double digit millions. And they were saying with those double digit millions, the impact that would have on the population would be significant because for years we've been at like 13 or 14% of the population, and
mhm.
that number could have been changed were it not for the different the number of abortions that had happened since Roe versus Wade. That was one of the topics as well. So it was a connection basically between population and abortion, and they were using the numbers to show that it's definitely an impact.
Mm. Yeah, I mean, abortion does kind of stifle the
the
population.
population.
Yeah. Ife says, my thought process is there will soon be more people of color, and that's not an easy pill to swallow. Yeah, that's the idea behind replacement theory, is that it's going to eventually be more of us than it's going to be of them, and that scares them.
It
And
does,
that
and
does
when
it really
I know I've
I
said
know I've
this
said this
before. I
before. I
know that
know
like
that
when
like when
Africans come over here, a lot of times they make them
Africans
sign their
sign
race as Caucasian because they say they have more Caucasian-like features.
Oh wow. Let's put a pin in that, and then we're gonna come back, and I want to ask Kiana a question. We got to take a break. So look, we're gonna take a break, y'all. You're gonna get some headline news from Democracy Now, and we'll be back at 7 minutes after the hour. You're listening to the Tampa Bay Breakfast Club, the new 99 Gems morning show right here on
WUJM,
We'll be right back.
St. Petersburg.
All that and more. Welcome to Democracy Now!, democracynow.org, the War and Peace Report. I'm Amy Goodman. President Joe Biden warned in a primetime speech Thursday Donald Trump and his supporters pose an existential threat to democracy in the United States. Biden spoke in Philadelphia in front of Independence Hall, where the Declaration of Independence and U.S. Constitution were debated and signed.
As I stand here tonight, equality and democracy are under assault. Donald Trump and the MAGA Republicans represent an extremism that threatens the very foundations of our republic.
Biden's remarks came less than 10 weeks before the midterm elections, when control of both the House and the Senate are at stake. After headlines will air extended clips of Biden's speech and get response from Duke University professor Nancy McLean. A federal judge in Washington, D.C. has sentenced a former New York City police officer to 10 years in prison after he was filmed attacking a Capitol police officer with a flagpole during the January 6, 2021 insurrection. Thomas Webster's sentence is the longest of about 250 handed down so far against people who followed then-President Donald Trump's order to march on the Capitol to prevent Congress from certifying Joe Biden's election victory. Meanwhile, the House Select Committee probing the January 6th attack has asked Newt Gingrich to testify, saying the former Republican House Speaker helped to incite the anger of Trump supporters by repeatedly making false claims about the 2020 election. Newly revealed public records show the wife of Supreme Court Justice Clarence Thomas pressured Republican lawmakers in Wisconsin to overturn Joe Biden's 2020 victory. Emails show that 2 days after media outlets called the election for Biden, Ginny Thomas messaged a Wisconsin state representative and the chair of the Wisconsin Senate Elections Committee, asking them to, quote, take action to ensure that a clean slate of electors is chosen for our state, unquote. The Washington Post previously reported Ginny Thomas emailed 29 Arizona lawmakers asking them to choose an alternative slate of pro-Trump presidential electors. The revelations have prompted calls for Justice Clarence Thomas to step down or face impeachment. But so far, he's refused to recuse himself from cases related to the 2020 election and the January 6th insurrection, even though his wife took part in the January 6th so-called Stop the Steal rally in Washington, D.C. In Ukraine, inspectors with the UN's International Atomic Energy Agency arrived at the Russian-occupied Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant after intense shelling near the site delayed their arrival by several hours. IAEA Chief Rafael Grossi said after touring the site, the physical integrity of the plant had been repeatedly violated by fighting between Russia and Ukraine. In Moscow, Russia's defense ministry accused Ukraine of nuclear terrorism by continuing to fire artillery at the nuclear complex. In Kyiv, President Volodymyr Zelensky hailed the IAEA's visit, but said Russian soldiers had blocked inspectors from entering the power plant's crisis center. He called for the establishment of demilitarized zones near Ukraine's nuclear sites.
For more than 3 decades, our specialists have managed 5 facilities, the Chernobyl station, and 4 working nuclear power plants. The IAEA had never had concerns regarding the activities of any of these facilities until Russia invaded our territory and brought its madness here.
Ukraine denies it's shelling Zaporizhzhia, the largest nuclear power plant in Europe. In Moscow, the chair of the Russian energy giant Lukoil has died under mysterious circumstances. Russia's TASS news agency reported Ravel Maganov fell from the 6th-story window of a Moscow hospital Thursday morning, then later reported he had taken his own life. Maganov presided over a meeting of Lukoil's board shortly after Russia invaded Ukraine in February, where board members called for a speedy end to the conflict and expressed sympathy for the war's victims.
All right. Welcome back to the Tampa Bay Breakfast Club. I'm your brother, John.
This is Kiana.
Hey, and this program is being brought to you as part of the New Image Project of the Community Development and Training Center, a.k.a. See That?
See that?
And we'd like to thank y'all for tuning in, helping us to redefine what's cool. A lot going on in the world, man. You see the Russians in Ukraine. Biden is calling out the same type of stuff that we were talking about before the break. Basically this hate speech and this, like white folks really angry about, what they see on the horizon, man. It's kind of interesting.
They mad. You want to argue with me?
You want to argue?
I ain't arguing with you.
Nope,
you
not at all.
Mad.
Big mad.
You big mad.
Big mad, too, for real. So did you see this thing here? And I was waiting on King Ree to get here. I don't know if he gonna come in, but I want to talk about it. Matter of fact, let me do this before he get here. It is another story that I wanted to mention.
Give him some time because he's working on his perfect attendance.
Yeah, too. He is. He's working on his attendance. And so there was cases against. So we talked about this too. The Florida election police, right, and how they have been arresting people for voter fraud. So here's an update to this story. So 2 weeks after Governor Ron DeSantis and the state's top election official stood in a Broward County courtroom and announced that the arrest of 20 people for voting illegally, the state's case is starting to fall apart. The announcement was the first initiative of the governor's Office of Election Crimes and Security. He just made that up. And it targeted people disqualified from voting because they've been convicted of murder or sexual assault. But in the face of a stream of conflicting messages coming from the governor and state elections officials, and the prospect of no immediate fix to the state's confusing system for felons to regain their voting rights, advocates are urging those who have been arrested to fight the charges. The Senate's sponsor of the legislation that implemented voting rights law concluded now $1 million operation may ultimately produce no convictions. And just real quick, Kiana, the question that is coming down to is where did the process break down and where voters got the actual voter registration card from? Because if they received the voter registration card from the state or their county, then, I mean, what about that says that you can't go vote?
Nothing.
You know what I mean?
This is the thing is, voter fraud, honestly, you barely can get people to go vote once.
Right.
The likelihood of somebody wanting to go vote twice, 3 times, 4 times is like really slim. Like, I don't even think it really exists like they're saying. The voter fraud that happens is you throw away people vote.
Yeah. It's happening
You
inside, yeah.
Right. This is the voter fraud. Like this right here, arresting 20 people. This is the voter fraud that didn't really fraud the voting system.
Yeah. And that's what he said. It said the considerations are for the state to get a conviction for a 3rd-degree felony for the crime of voting as an unqualified elector. It must prove that the people voted illegally, willfully intended to break the law. Like they knew when they was doing it that they shouldn't be doing it. And that's what
No,
they say.
if you have like if you have a voter registration card, why wouldn't you go vote?
Yeah. And that's exactly what the case is saying. Is like, did they willfully intend to break the law? Did they know that they couldn't vote and then voted anyway? Probably not. And then the fact that you got this whole department and you only was able to find 20 people statewide, and it says of the 18 arrested so far, all told state investigators that they received a voter registration card from their county election supervisor's office, and they believe they were authorized to vote by somebody in the government. Like, if I got this card, somebody said it's all right for me to vote. So why
I just think
can I
it's
vote?
another attack on our people to, again, make people weary about going voting. Because all you need to hear is about one person. That's how the rumors start. Oh, no, you should. You was a felon. You bet they said that you had your rights, but such and such down the street got arrested.
Wow. Yeah, it's voter intimidation. That's what they.
You know?
Yeah, it's another way to scare people into not voting, right? And it says here's the other thing. It says according to the charging documents, some were told that they were authorized to vote by multiple government officials, and so it wasn't like one person told them that they can vote. Like a few of them were told by several people that it was all right for them to go ahead and vote, and so they had no idea that when they were voting that they were doing something that they shouldn't have been doing.
Yeah.
And again, like what you said, the bigger picture in this whole thing is the fact that it is voter intimidation, and the confusion, I think, is what has led to only 8% of returning citizens who are eligible to vote as a result of the work that we've done, and the passing of Amendment 4. Only 8% of those who are eligible have actually registered. And I think that's in part to all of the confusion, because like if you're a returning citizen, the last thing I'm trying to do is go back to jail or go to prison for voting.
Right.
And so
you really have to believe in the cause. And most people don't want to go back to prison.
And they're not even going to risk it. Like hearing all of this stuff that's coming out from the governor's office, and the way that they, stomping down on people for voting, like it make you just like, okay, I'm just gonna chill because I don't know if
I'll just stay away from the whole process.
I don't know if my fees and fines been paid. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's like they got different ways that they scaring people.
Mm-hmm. No, it is. It's definitely an intimidation factor when you look at it, because you get out of prison and then we're telling you can vote. Your rights have been restored. All you have to do is make sure your fines are paid. That's a whole nother beast in itself
Right.
that you gotta tackle, and then you think that your freedom may be in jeopardy if somebody decide they don't like you, because that's really what it is.
Pretty much. That's exactly what it is. Yeah. And they wake up on the wrong side of, an issue. And now because you disagree with them on the issue, you become a target, for voter fraud. And like, again, the people who I know who did time, the last thing they're trying to do is go back to prison for casting a vote.
And it's really sad, one, because all the work that has been done
Right.
to ensure and to get these people back their rights, and that one man
Yeah.
or a government, because honestly, we fought really hard to pass it, and then he put all this extra stuff in there just saying, oh, because they tried to stop it.
Right.
Remember?
Yep, they did. No, I remember. And after trying to stop it, then they put things in place to again confuse the issue, make it difficult for people to vote, and that's what this case is actually proving that, right? Like, how are you going to be able to prove that these people intended to basically scam the system by voting when they shouldn't have? So keep your eyes on that, y'all, and do your research. We're going to be providing some information as well as we move forward and closer to Election Day. The last day to register to vote for this upcoming election, I think, is October the 11th. Don't quote me on that, but it's in early October. So if you have,
it is early October. Let me see if I can find it.
Okay, and so if you haven't registered to vote, go ahead and get registered, and be ready, man, because there's a big election coming up in November. And a lot is at stake, you know what I'm saying? And we're going to be bringing you information about those races as well in the days ahead. There was a school teacher in Florida who was arrested when a missing child was found at her home.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, in Port Charlotte. A Florida teacher has been arrested after investigators found a missing teenager in her home, sheriff's officials said. The 31-year-old woman was charged with interfering with the custody of a minor after picking up the teen and concealing him in her home in Port Charlotte, according to news reports. The teen had been reported missing by his parents, and the news, according to the news release, and the official said the teacher who was arrested on last week knew the teen had been reported missing. And basically hid him out at her place. Sheriff's officials said they found the teenager after receiving information that led them to the teacher's home. And jail records indicate that she works at Charlotte High School. It didn't indicate whether or not she was one of his teachers directly. And they didn't release any other details about the teen himself as well because of this ongoing investigation. But what's going on with these teachers and hiding these kids, man?
Okay, so I don't agree with her hiding him. But we don't know the circumstances because they're really vague on it. Like, was she trying to get him to turn his, to go back in? But I think she should have made a phone call to at least the authorities.
Right.
If not the parents, if his life was in danger.
Yeah. No, yeah, just like a lot of unanswered questions. And then, we in the context right now with teachers and students having relationships with each other, like, sexual relationships and all that stuff.
Right.
And so it just kind of makes you wonder, like, what was really going on. Like, she know this kid was reported missing. She didn't call authorities to let them know that he was at her house. And again, if it was something that he was running from, because they say when people run away, they either run into something or they running from something. And so even if he was running away from something, like, that all should have been reported by the teacher as well. But you can't just hide kids in your house, lady.
Right. Now how long was he in the house for?
It didn't say in the story. It didn't say that how long he was there, but he was there long enough for I guess the parents to be worried and to,
how long? Because he could have ran away.
Yeah.
So let's say this: a good cop, bad cop. He could have ran away, and let's say he had just got to her house, and one of the neighbors saw. Because Port Charlotte is not that big. I don't know if y'all ever been there. I've worked out there in Port Charlotte. It's not that big.
Right.
So let's say within 30 minutes the authorities was called, and maybe she was there getting the information so that she could call.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
it's a
Because
possibility. I mean,
it's
anything is
it
possible.
can look either way. Like,
I'm gonna tell you what
honestly,
Shayna
it
said.
doesn't.
Shayna
What
said
Shayna?
she said she was definitely helping him hide, but she's only 31. I'm just saying, 31, and he a teenager. I don't,
So that might be his. That might be his
I
girlfriend.
don't know something.
I mean, it looks weird. Like, she needed to report it to the authorities, regardless if she didn't do it to the parents.
Right.
But we don't have a lot of information. We don't know if he had just got there, if he was there for days.
Right.
You know what I mean? It could have been there within an hour, and she was trying to talk him into going back home because that was the teacher that he trusted.
Right. Yeah, it's all possible. It's all possible.
And then again, that could have been his girlfriend.
Yeah. As your mama would say, your little girlfriend. he was hiding out with his little girlfriend,
huh? With his little girl? No, she was his grown girlfriend.
Yeah, look, she a whole teacher, right?
She's 31, so
yeah, she's more than a little girlfriend at that point, right?
Oh, and just to hop back on what you were saying, the deadline is October 11th.
Okay, that's what I was thinking. October 11th is the deadline to register to vote, and so make sure that you vote. And there's people who's actually paying fees and fines. I think you can reach out to the Florida Rights Restoration Coalition, and I believe they're going to be paying some fines and some fees for folks as well, to help you, get your rights back so that you can engage in the electoral process. So King Ree didn't make it, but I still want to talk about this story, and then after we talk about this story, we're going to do the Ask Kiana conversation. So Bank of America is now offering 0 down payment mortgages in certain Black and Hispanic communities. Bank of America is offering 0 down payment mortgages with no closing costs for first-time home buyers in certain Black and Hispanic neighborhoods in a new program designed to chip away at the inequality in the housing market. This new loan launched this week requires no minimum credit score nor mortgage insurance, which lenders typically charge when borrowers put down less than 20%. Instead of a traditional score, first-time home buyers will be evaluated on their history of making timely payments for rent, utilities, phone service, and auto insurance. Bank of America said the new mortgage program, known as the Community Affordable Loan Solution, is available in certain census-designated markets, including Black and Hispanic neighborhoods in Charlotte, Dallas, Detroit, Los Angeles, and Miami. What's your thoughts?
Let's move to Miami.
Move to Miami, huh? That's.
Let's move to Miami and put this theory to work.
And see if it actually works the way they say it works.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't trust Bank of America.
Yeah, me either. And that's why I wanted to have this conversation with King Ree in the building, because he hit me with something about it that really made me say, that is quite interesting. But hold on, I got to plug up this computer before it dies, and we really get cut.
Okay, go ahead, do that. No, it does make you say, After all of this, because Bank of America has gotten some bad raps, and how they're treating their people.
Right.
And now all of a sudden there's certain areas where you want to give 0 interest rate.
Yes,
I don't know.
Census designated area, yeah. And why Charlotte, Dallas, Detroit, LA, and Miami? What is it about those cities that make you want to start there first? And what King Ree was saying on this was, just thinking about that was what kind of caused the crash in 2008, right? Where they was just giving out loans without really screening people.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of that stuff was predatory as well. They were doing those predatory loans where they was just lending to people knowing that they couldn't pay, hedging their bets, knowing that they wouldn't pay, and then benefiting from people's inability to pay their mortgages. Another one of the concerns that came up with the program, they said if home prices plunge, borrowers could end up underwater on their mortgage, where they owe more than the home is worth. The problem of underwater mortgages occurred in the wake of the 2008 financial crisis, and it spawned millions of foreclosures, with an especially devastating impact on Black and Hispanic homeowners. Okay, so
Right.
you said Charlotte is their headquarters, and so that may explain one. And then Miami has a strong Spanish population. Mrs. Woodard said that as well. Okay, so that makes sense that they would choose those markets. But yeah, just thinking about the crisis, and you know what I mean, and the prices of homes right now. So if you getting people into these, you getting them approved for mortgages, right? And even if you do say, that you screen them, you make sure that they can afford it, they got the history to pay. What happens when the prices or the market corrects itself is one of the concerns that came up too. Like if
Right. Would you then adjust their mortgage at that point? Probably not.
Probably not. I mean,
And because they feel like it's like I give a little to take a little
and then what happens?
or take a lot.
Well, here's the thing. When you buying your house, you buying, because you want that equity, right?
Right.
And if once you buy it at these prices, if the prices don't keep going up, then your equity is going to be limited, right? Is that
And
kind
that's
of
the whole, that is kind of the idea. But a lot of people don't even use the equity in their homes, which is crazy. Like the whole point, like you're so scared to do what is meant to be. You buy the house
Yep.
to live in there, but then there's benefits of buying the house. You have equity. So like if times get hard, you can pull off of it. You can do
Right.
things, remodel, and people are so afraid to use that they don't even take the benefit,
Right. Right.
which is crazy. And I know that's kind of off topic,
No,
but
but it's another conversation that we need to have though, about like what are we doing with the equity that we have in our homes. When we talk about pooling our resources and the problems in our community, not having resources, well, we got a lot of people that have equity in their homes that may be a resource. I'm with you when you're right. One of the questions came in about the interest rates. I'm trying to see if they have that in here, where they talks about the lack of down payment. Said Bank of America, they will consider how to expand the program to other cities after the initial assessment. The Black home ownership, they're just listing the Black home ownership figures, but it's not saying what the rates are, which is another great question because, again, we know that they be having all kind of shenanigans when it comes to Black and Hispanic people, where you end up paying like a higher rate than than other borrowers. So, and I guess the zero down payment part of it was the attracting piece, because they saying the down payment is usually one of the biggest obstacles to home ownership, for low to moderate income people. And so, it says one of the biggest obstacles to buying a home is having enough cash for down payment, closing costs, and other costs associated with the purchase.
and it sounds good, right? But our distrust for Bank of America will make me hesitant
Right.
to go in there and take full advantage of this opportunity, even if it was all good.
Yep. No, that's what it says. All areas have higher market value with heavily racial segregation. God, dog. Yep, that's a real thing. Somebody put Bank of America is doodle emoji. Period. And all know it. Everybody know Bank of America ain't the one you want to be messing with, right?
Bank America ain't where's that at all?
Mm-mm.
Do you bank with Bank of America?
Do I not? No,
Do
I
you
do
not?
not.
Have
I
you
do.
ever banked with Bank of America?
I'm trying to think of what it was called something before that. And when it became Bank of America, I think that's when I left. Because I'm trying to remember, because they used to be up there on 49th Street. I believe that was Bank of America.
Okay.
And
I've never banked with Bank of America. I started out with First Union that went to Wachovia, that went to now to Wells Fargo. But I
okay, so
think I left.
that's the same route I was at. That was the
Okay,
same.
so
Yeah. Because it was Barnett Bank, I think, before that or something like that. Maybe
there
Barnett.
had a Barnett, but no, Barnett Bank was different. I don't think it was. No, Barnett Bank went to SunTrust.
Okay, so
And now SunTrust is Truett
okay,
or
gotcha.
something like that.
I
But
got you.
no, so I started out over there at the Wells Fargo, as you call it, the day, but I left when it was Wachovia. So I do Chase and Navy Federal.
Right. And King Reed, we can't hear you on here, so we still got some technical stuff. So I see you, but we won't be able to hear you if I bring you in. And so with the Bank of America piece, again, keep your eyes open on that. And I'm so wishing that King Reed would have just pulled up on me, because like I had this all queued up. I really was wanted to have this conversation because he talked about, he's been talking to us about, studying the 1920s, and just the laws, rules, regulations, and policies that were being made, things that were going on in the world in the 1920s. And a lot of those things in the 2020s, and history repeats itself. And so
it does. So let's do this.
brother.
He's here. Let's do the Ask Kiana, and then I can answer that, then hop off, and then he can go and finish out the rest of it with that piece, since both of us can't be on together.
Y'all gonna tag in, right? We're
gonna
tag team. So the Ask Kiana question is really it's a straightforward question. And it's
my answer is no.
Two questions.
Okay, go ahead.
There's two questions. So the first part of the Ask Kiana question is, would you ever propose to a man? Because I guess it's about wedding proposals is the topic.
Oh,
right?
well, then I was dead on. No. Well, go ahead.
So yeah, would you ever propose to a man? Why or why not?
No, I would never propose to a man. I think everybody already know I do believe in gender roles, and some things should stay the same for my life. If you want to go and propose to a man, go head on. I'm not proposing to no man. I'm not doing it, not thinking about it. It's not in my near future. Never, ever, ever.
Mrs. Wood have put in the chat. Absolutely not. Would not propose to a man. and you saying
No.
so again, what's the downside of I mean, we in this age of women can do what men do, and the whole equality, and breaking down barriers.
So I believe in I believe in breaking down barriers. Like, the thing is, I'm okay with whatever you want to do in life, right?
Okay.
But be okay with people like me that want a man to still, be a man. Like we keep on saying, I believe that chivalry is not dead. It's just not required. I want my door open for me. I want somebody to pump the gas for me. I want somebody to mow my yard. I can do all of that stuff, and I have done it, but I prefer for my man to do it, right? And also, I'm gonna want my man to ask me for my hand in marriage, not the other way around, because I also still want him to lead my household. And we talk about this, and this doesn't mean that you're falling back. It's just that I believe that you don't want to take that from a man.
Okay.
And I don't want that role.
I got you. Yeah. Because what does that mean? Like, what follows that? Like after the proposal, and
so like I ask you to marry you. So let's say I get on my knee and say, "Will you marry me?" Are you taking my last name? Now, am I taking the responsibility of the whole family?
I don't know.
This is a question. Viewers, ask.
That is an interesting perspective, but I think if you're trying to advance and move the relationship forward, this is me flipping the pancake too, right? I agree.
Flip it. Go ahead, flip it.
But if we talking about put a ring on it and advancing the relationship, moving the relationship forward, and the man is not doing it, why wouldn't you initiate and be like, you know what, I'm going to ask him, will you marry me? Right? And then what would he say? still ain't doing that one. It's a no.
It's enough for me. What if your daughter came to you and say, Dad, I'm finna go ask my boyfriend to marry me? What would you say? Would you help her plan the whole surprise part, like get the engagement party together and be like, yeah, and then watch your daughter get on one knee and ask a man to marry her? Okay.
No, I would not. I would
But
not.
I mean, if people want to do that, go for it. Like I'm not, but it's just nothing I'm doing.
Right. So Sierra said, I don't think there's nothing wrong with this. So nothing wrong with the woman asking a man to marry him. Okay, Sierra said she would
Okay,
help.
see, there you go. And
Yeah.
Sierra, I'm okay with you asking your man to marry. I'm just not asking mine to marry
Just
me.
like the daughter, right? Like if your daughter came and said, "This is what I'm going to do. This is my plan," she would support her in that desire.
Oh,
But I think women ask men to marry them in different ways. They just don't propose, right? Like I
okay.
don't think they propose marriage. They just have
They put
conversations.
they put gentle ultimatums out there
Okay,
that
and
pushes you to act. If that makes sense.
yeah, yeah. So yeah. So with that in mind, I'm thinking that women probably already do it, and they demand it. Sierra said, and some do in so
Well,
many
I
ways.
mean, that's a demand, but
Yeah.
you're saying this is what you want, but you're not getting on your knees and making it official.
Okay. You would say yes. They hint heavily.
There's always hints. I will agree with that.
Yeah, yeah. And so the second part of the question was this, and we can ask this for the brothers too. So as a man, and again, maybe brothers, y'all could put this in the chat. As a man, if a woman proposed to you, would you accept a proposal? Would you accept a proposal from a woman who got down on her knee and said, "Will you marry me?" Is the question for the brothers. And then the other part of the Ask Kiana question for you, Kiana, is if a man proposes to his girlfriend and she declines the proposal, is the relationship over?
It can be if his ego is operating strictly with this.
Okay.
Because I know people who propose and haven't gotten married and it just wasn't the right time, or the proposal, like some people will propose just to try to fix something that's not fixed yet. To like, it's
So
like
they
a big
so
gesture.
you trying to make up by proposing?
Yeah, some people do. I know people who get caught cheating, their girls say they over, and then next thing you know, they on that one knee saying, "Let's get married." But it happens all the time.
Okay. That's
But
interesting.
if you ask, do you think it's the all for you? Like if you've asked your wife to marry and she said no at the time, would you have asked again?
Let me think about that. I probably would have though, because I really was like about it. So if she would have said no, I'm sure she would have given me a reason why. And probably me knowing her, she would have given me some assignments and things to work on, things to do. You know what I'm saying? And then you just keep kind of trying to live up to the standard, and then make it happen, right? I mean
I think
that's
it's like anything that you work for. If you really want it, you're not gonna give up with the first rejection.
you're gonna take the first no, huh?
You're gonna take the first no and keep on going if you want it. If the first no was the determining factor on if you stay, then you didn't want to be there.
If the first no was the determining factor on whether or not you would stay, I don't know though. I mean, you got some. I mean, I guess maybe it depends on where you are in life too. Because if you like, you in your 40s and you ask her to marry you and she say no, like how much more time? You know what I mean?
I'm
Like,
just saying then I feel like if that's the rush at this point, you're just doing it because you feel like you're too old.
I wouldn't say too old, but people just like you know what you want. You figured it out, and you ain't trying to waste time. Playing around and messing around. Like we trying to really partner up and do something.
I get it.
Right?
I get it. But again, if the
no, you know, again, I think it may be circumstantial. Like when I proposed, we was in our, 20s. And so I
Mhm.
still feeling like, okay, you know, and we had talked about it and all of that stuff beforehand. And it was like a long, conversation. And then I eventually proposed, but, you know, she always told me that she could marry me. It was like, but you got some stuff you need to, you need to do. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, I know I could do it, but like, are you ready? When you ready? You know what I mean? It was like that kind of conversation.
Right. I get it. But again, let's say, like you just said, if you're 40 and you ask somebody to marry him and they say no,
No,
and
and
that determines then that's not where you
not what
need to
you need
be
to be
anyway.
Okay, that absolutely is a perspective. Here's another question that was put in here by Sierra. I appreciate it. So, do women have standards they need to meet before he asked the question?
I think
I think
everybody
everybody
does.
does.
Okay,
I
I
think
think
and again, I
that
think the two
two
people that's
people
in a relationship defined it. And whatever you need to have a healthy relationship, your partner should be offering you
offering
that.
you that,
And you
and
should
you
have a
should have a
partner
partner
doing that
doing that
before
before
anybody sit
anybody sit
down
down
and
and
propose,
propose.
and
oh,
And
not propose on the possibility or the potential of that
potential.
person.
okay. So don't get engaged on potential. Like you want to see some actual.
You should see some action because people can tell you anything. Like if you've been with somebody, you can see the potential
Right,
of
Of
them
them
being
being
great.
great.
Don't jump down from that.
Um,
You can
you
see the
can see the
potential of them
potential of
being
them
great,
being
but if they don't see the potential,
great.
then they're never gonna
Their
get to
kids.
their greatness. They have to be working on it every day as well.
right, right. If y'all agree with Q, put a plus in the chat. Let us know that you affirming what Q is saying because I see it. I see Shayna said exactly Q. Yeah, no, that makes sense. So, and I think absolutely, even if this, like, how can I say it? Sometimes the standards are unwritten, right? Like you have
Mhm.
standards, you have your ideas, but they haven't been maybe expressed, but you see the person operating, according to your standards. And so sometimes,
Mhm.
and I mean, it can go both ways, I guess. Sometimes you have to make the implicit explicit, right?
Mhm.
And I think that's one of the best ways to do courtship is not take things for granted because you implying it, but like really being explicit and upfront about what you want, what your standards are, and then establishing those agreements. I think that helps to prevent problems later on, right? What you think?
I think courtship is very important. I think that that's part of the situation where people um miss the mark at because people immediately hop into these sexual relationships and then now you have these ties to people and you don't even like them.
Mm,
We're
wow.
like an instant
Instant
society when we're looking
looking
for
for
something
something
instant
that
that's gonna give us a long-term benefit, I would
Right.
say.
Right.
And but yet we don't even give it time to cook.
Mm,
You want a full healthy meal, but then you want to put it in the microwave and
microwave
think
and
that you're
think
going
that
to
you're
get
gonna
all the
get all the
benefits
benefits
from
from
it being in
being
a
in
crock pot.
fast cooking, and now you got red chicken, you got bloody chicken.
Right.
Yeah, because you ain't take time to let it marinate and let it sit long enough. No, that makes sense.
Right. And so the courtship is important when you get to know each other because once you do the courtship, you date, and you can walk away still being friends because you be like, because there's good people that's just not good for each other.
Okay, that's
But
true.
because you force the relationship, you becomes, not a healthy situation. And now the good person that you saw before, you don't see that because you tried to force something that wasn't a good fit.
Right. Yeah. No, no, the way I was taught in when we talk about it in Nation of Islam, when you talk about courtship, they said it's like
Mhm.
court. You think about courtship, right? But you take the ship
Mhm.
off and you do court. Well, in court, you're presenting a case, right? You're asking certain questions, you're examining, evidence, right? And you're prosecuting in some cases, right? And then you're defending in other cases. But the whole idea of being able to ask questions, get answers that you need, and then being able to receive, the feedback that you get based upon evidence is what allows you to make a decision on how you want to move forward and live your life. And I think that's a part of the courtship that we miss, is the intentionality about what we're going to do, long term, and not just like, what you like for dinner or what's your favorite color. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Just a bit, but it really down how you want to raise your family,
Yeah.
how these finances, how do you look at finances? Because these are conversations people don't want to have, but these are the ones that actually break up your household.
Right. That's right. Yeah, the real stuff. And maybe when you get older, you be more intentional about that, because we've tried and failed a little bit more. But I'm like really speaking to our younger audience, like, really do your due diligence. You know what I'm saying? Like, I guess maybe older people do it too, though, because you feeling that the clock is ticking and you got to hurry up, and you got that social pressure of you getting older and all of that stuff. But man, don't waste your
You hear
time.
that the clock is ticking.
Yeah.
Tick tock, tick tock.
Do we have one? I'm trying to see if I got a ticking clock in here. Now I think I might have an alarm. Let's see if this one works. Wait a minute. Yeah, we got some, but we got to figure this stuff out, because they saying they love the sound effects too, y'all.
Okay.
So you're listening to the Tampa Bay Breakfast Club. Again, it's the new 99 Jams morning show right here on WUJM 99.1 FM. If you're in St. Petersburg, you can actually listen live anywhere in the world by going to 99jamstheberg.com. Also, this is a publicly owned community asset, and as such, we invite you to join in by donating and supporting. You can sponsor a show, advertise your business, or just send in a little change, man. Let us know that you rocking with us. If you're doing an event, you can reach out and have us come out to your event. The radio station will come out and broadcast live. These are all things that are available to you through your community radio station, WUJM 99.1 FM. And that's
So
what's up.
I'm gonna head out
Okay.
so that Reno can get on.
Okay.
All right. And so it was nice chatting with y'all. I will see y'all on Monday.
Oh yeah, Monday we got Liz Siplin, Raphael, and Amber Robinson coming in. They're gonna talk about the STEM Saturday program that they're doing over at Childs Park.
Okay.
Yeah, and Monday is a holiday, so enjoy your weekend. And I look forward to talking to you soon, Q.
All righty.
All right, take care.
Bye.
Bye. All right, we're gonna add King Ree to the stream. King Ree, you're gonna actually put your camera on and then give us a call on the phone number when you call in, and we'll be able to get you on the air. I want to get your take on this Bank of America thing. And while I'm waiting on the phone to ring, I want to give y'all some announcements real quick on some things that are happening, opportunities to serve and get involved in the community. Look, no hesitation, no delay. Right on, you there, my brother?
Peace and light, brother John.
Peace and light, big bro. So I'm seeing you in the queue, but I don't see your camera on. And that's
man, the camera ain't finna come on, man, but I'm here though.
Okay, that's what time it is. I'm just trying to see where you at with it. And so you got some hot takes on this Bank of America thing that I wanted to hear, man. What's your thoughts on Bank of America and the new 0% down home ownership program that they're launching?
Great idea, Bank of America. You know what I'm saying? Right train, wrong track, though. You know what I mean? When you look at it through the lens of Sankofa. And what I mean is, from the lens of Sankofa, is look at 1919 Spanish flu, you all. You know what I'm saying? When you pay attention to the Spanish flu, you're able to see, how 1919 they had social distancing, they had schools and churches closing, and then they ran the same play 100 years later as if it was a new concept. And so they allow community and nationwide chaos to be caused under the lens of social distancing being a new concept. Had they just rolled it out, hey, social distancing, guys, we want to try something that we did in 1919 during the Spanish flu epidemic that kind of worked. But when you didn't sell it to us that way, then now we're thinking that this is a new concept and everything is going to yada, yada, yada. And I say that to say this. If that happened back then in that manner, then what happened after the Spanish flu 1919 when they were saying stuff like social distancing and schools closing and churches closing? Well, they gave out loans.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? But then what you want to look at is the end of the 1920s, not the beginning. 1922, Roaring 20s.
That's what they called it,
right?
Yeah.
They called it the Roaring 20s, right? They were making so much progress, but by the end of the 1920s, they were doing a margin call. This is Rockefeller them doing. They say, right? This is the Fed doing. This is actually the creation of the Fed that put our country, they say, in the hands of the very few, you know, in the hands of the Fed. And the Fed, unbeknownst to a lot of us out here, the Fed is not a part of the United States government.
Right.
The Fed is the bald head dude on monopoly, the one who gives us the money.
Okay.
The president goes to the Fed and asks the Fed, the federal, the
Federal
Treasury.
Reserve, yeah.
Can we get money? Can we loan money from you guys?
Right.
And so they did a margin call in the late 1920s.
Okay.
The margin call is when Rockefeller them exited the market, and that made it where the government had to call back all loans.
Okay.
They did this in the banner of trying to help the government from going down. This is when they asked for gold and silver to be given in. They were removing the gold standard from the dollar bill and introducing the dollar as the currency of the company. But they had to do a little switcheroo. But they gave out all these loans. Okay, 2008, yes, they did give out what? They gave out home loans to people who they knew couldn't afford it.
Right.
And now we have a new idea from Bank of America when everybody is in the energy of forgetting.
Yeah.
Like Kiana said through her Ask Kiana segment, this is a microwave relationship generation we're dealing with. And so when you have a what Reno calls an MTV Jam of the Week attention span.
Okay.
You see what I'm saying? When you're only paying attention to what's hot right now, what's popping right now, what it allows you to conveniently forget and sometimes not even know what happened. And so when you're not aware of things that happened just 100 years ago, and that's based on your 65 years of being taught. You know, we got taught the Indian War and the Civil Wars and stuff, but we were mainly taught from Martin Luther King on up.
Right.
And this is how they do it. You know, this is how they teach you things to not let you know what happened in the past. And now you're believing in stuff like prophecies. I'm not prophesying right now. This is not a prophecy right now. This is looking at what they did before and counting them for their last.
Yeah, it's an observation, right? It really
is. This is observation, Brother John. You know what I'm saying? We should be very mindful of loans that we're taking right now in these 2020s, as in our face, we're being told that this government don't have money.
Yeah, and look, when you say that kind of give me a flash of the PPP loan situation a couple years ago, and now there's a whole department dedicated to getting that money back. You know what I'm saying?
It's the Marcus Garvey effect. Marcus Garvey went to prison for mail fraud.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? But these are the loans that were given back then.
So they gave you the loan, but now they want it back. I mean, of course, it's
just pay attention to the 1920s.
It's some stuff in between that, though. I mean, it's stuff that go in the middle of that, but that's kind of if we had to say the long story short, they gave you them loans, and now they want their money back.
That's
know
all.
And that's
where it works.
That's it. They want their money, and they want it now. And they looked at how
and
the
just be mindful, y'all. These are loans.
Yeah.
If the government are going to give you loans in a situation where the government they don't have it to give.
Right.
And so when they don't have it to give, then they're going to use an extension of the government called their middleman. The middleman is the bank. Yeah. Remember, one semester of economics didn't teach us anything about finances.
Right.
So it definitely did not teach us how to bank.
Right.
And this is why that's why a lot of our people don't like banks.
Yeah.
Because they set their money in there, and then these people just took our money out of banks.
Right. So just
what I mean. So we have a lot of reasons to feel a certain way, but what we should be doing these days is being mindful of the past, because history does not repeat itself, as Dr. John Henry Clark says, Brother John.
Right.
People repeat history.
Okay, not history itself repeating.
History doesn't do anything. People repeat the history, but some people know about it,
right?
And so that allows them to maneuver around the chessboard a little differently. They are controlling the environment at a point, because if they're doing it on a chessboard, a lot of times this is what we're metaphorically speaking, thinking that we're on a checkers board.
Right.
It has always been chess, not checkers.
Right on, man. Look, we got to land the plane. I got a couple of announcements that we wanted to give, but I definitely appreciate you calling, because again, this was prompted by you. And so I wanted to, I wanted to.
Hey man, we want to be in the building, man. Long night, man. But we
tell me about last night, man. Just your experience with Agent X.
About last night, man. Let me just say this, man. I had to share with my brother, man. The smiles on my children's faces is the same one as on mine, man.
Yes, sir.
And it's just a tremendous appreciation of a person who did not give up on their dream.
Right on.
And I'm happy to be right there, gunslinging side by side with him. And that is the one and only Charlie Soprano.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? For it, man. It was just an amazing night, man. It did not stop. Man, we kept on going, you know what I'm saying? That's that Mia X thing. We don't care because the party don't stop.
That's
got
right.
nothing but love. You know, rocking from the east. We went from downtown. We went on the Deuces.
Which was the east. Yeah, from the east back over to the west. Okay.
Back over to the west.
I see what you did. I see what you did there.
But just want to say, man, in closing myself, man, thank you all for coming out and supporting the dream, man. The dream don't stop right here, man. As my brother said, we're going to take the film from here to New York. We're just going to go around the country, man. And we just St. Pete bred, St. Pete born. And this is what St. Pete people do. You know what I'm saying? We kind of just go over and take over and do our St. Pete thing.
Right on.
And that's just what we do. Peace and love, everybody, man. I will see y'all Sunday, man. Tune in on Power 12 Radio, man. We are here. We'll be back on Monday to do our thing next week on the holiday. We'll be in the building.
Oh, yeah.
Y'all tune in, man. That Slick Vic voice, man. Y'all lay around for it. Peace and love, Brother John.
Appreciate you, big bro. Thank you for calling in.
Yes, sir.
All right, so last thing before we get out of here, there are a couple of opportunities for you to get involved with the civic engagement. And so there's a service board, and these are some announcements about boards and positions that are available through the city of St. Petersburg. And we really need to get our people on these boards and in these positions to make decisions about what's going on in the city. It's not just city council, it's not just elected officials. These are positions that are available to everyday people who can actually be appointed, but you got to apply. And so the Civil Service Board, they're seeking 2 alternative members to serve. The term ends August 31st and November 30th, respectively. The Civil Service Board is a quasi-judicial review board that was created by the St. Petersburg City Charter, and they provide classified employees with an economical and less formal opportunity to have certain disciplinary actions reviewed by the board of lay persons. And so it basically is an extension of the St. Petersburg Human Resources Department, where the board, and it gives the board makeup here. But if you got a cousin that work for the city and they saying the city doing them wrong, from what I'm looking at, these cases go before regular people to help make decisions on whether or not cuz should keep his job or whether he really was sleeping on people. He should have been out there cutting grass. The city is seeking 1 regular member and 2 alternate members for the Nuisance Abatement Board. The Nuisance Abatement Board is also a quasi-judicial board. The board hears and decides cases involving properties in the city that have been allegedly being used for illegal activity, prostitution, criminal gang activity, dealing in stolen property, and other civil matters. So after hearing evidence and argument, the board may declare that a property is a public nuisance and can then impose fines and other requirements on the property owner with the goal of abating the nuisance. This board plays an important role in reducing crime and improving safety and welfare of the citizens of St. Petersburg and visitors. And a lot of times, regular people like us are not on those boards. And so we definitely need to make sure that we get on those boards, man, to make decisions. And in the last couple of them here, there's also the Social Services Allocation Committee. They're seeking a regular, 1 regular member as well. And the purpose of the Social Services Allocation Committee is to promote health, economic, and social well-being of residents. The functions of this board is they review all social action funding applications, and they make recommendations to City Council for what gets funded based upon the criteria and some conditions that are set forth in the annual social action funding guidelines and application. They also assure that the programs and services being provided under these programs are readily available to all residents living in St. Petersburg. That's a big one, y'all. We need to have somebody on that board. Like, we really need to get people on there. And it's just saying, Reno, you still in the queue. I can hear you. There you go. Try it now. And so thank you for that, y'all. Like, he just riding out, huh? And so with the Yeah, so that's another one of the boards. And then the last one that we have here, St. Petersburg Housing Authority, is also looking for residents who are interested in joining the board. So we got this housing crisis, these housing issues, and all of this stuff going on. But we're not on the housing authority. And so the St. Pete Housing Authority is also looking for board members who will oversee public housing in the city. If you're interested, you can email the Housing and Community Development Director, Joshua Johnson. That's joshua.johnson@stpete.org. As a matter of fact, all of these positions and ways that you can apply are available by going to stpete.org, and you can learn more about these open positions that regular citizens, real people, like AKA you and me, grassroots, I think, need to be more involved in and understand. And that's why we're highlighting it here on the Tampa Bay Breakfast Club. Last thing, y'all, is St. Pete College announced that they have a new scholarship program to support residents in South St. Pete who want to take their first step on a new career pathway in viable workforce industries. There was a recent award of $125,000 that was granted to what they call the First Step Scholarship. And the purpose of that is to help with scholarships. Recipients will receive full tuition, books, and materials related to the selected training of their choice in the following areas. If you're going into specialized manufacturing, financial services, data analytics, and creative and arts design, they're focusing on these particular areas because they believe that residents are more likely to be able to move into employment shortly after completing their training. That's a quote from from Valenthia Berry, beautiful sister who's doing some great work. And she said that the scholarship is important as it provides an opportunity for residents in South St. Pete to change the trajectory of their lives by offering certificate-based training, which leads to a career and higher wages. If you like to apply, or if you like to get your children involved and you want them to apply, you can go to stpe.co/first step scholarship, or you can call Eric McClendon at 727-341-3508. We'll post this as well, 727-341-3508, if you'd like to learn more about this scholarship program for residents of South St. Pete. And so again, we want to thank y'all for tuning in to the Tampa Bay Breakfast Club. It has been Freestyle Friday. And look, we had to phone a friend a few times. Thank y'all for chiming in the chat. And we'll be back on Sunday. So Sunday again, 11 o'clock. You can go to the Tampa Bay Breakfast Club page and you can catch us there. And then we'll be right back in the studio here at 99.1 FM on Monday morning. It is a holiday. We have some very special guests. We're going to talk about the STEM program that's being operated. It's going now into its second year, where we bring in STEM to the children and residents in Childs Park and the surrounding areas. And we'll have Amber and Raphael Robinson along with Liz Siplin from Team Elevate, and they're going to talk about this beautiful STEM program and ways that you can get your children involved. So again, thank y'all so much for tuning in. We appreciate y'all rocking with us as always. And I'm your brother John. There's more that needs to be done and needs to be said. Y'all keep your head up, chin up, chest out, and stay solid. Believe and do good. Peace.
WUJM, St. Petersburg.
We all agreed tonight, all of the speakers have agreed that America has a very serious problem. Not only does America have a very serious problem, but our people have a very serious problem. America's problem is self-destruction and self-destruction.